Rilla has totally fundamentally changed the way we manage, the way we coach, completely changing the way we do ride-alongs. What it's really done is let us know exactly what is happening. For me, running a business is all about the customer insights, what's happening. And you would think that that would be easy information to get, but in reality, it's one of the most difficult pieces of data that you can find.
The other thing that I learned was how much time you spend preparing for all of those meetings. Gathering all the data you need to prepare for them. It took so much manual work and effort that you had to spend every single day.
Years ago, I was with a much larger company, and I was assigned to a task force to look at some key initiatives. We sent out tens of thousands of surveys to find this gap. We ended up having to hire a consulting group out of Boston to come in and help make sense of all this information. They brought about 260 pages of data. When I started delivering it in the field, I would go to a branch and I would say, here's some of the key insights. And this is the first thing I would hear. My reps don't do that.
So they didn't believe it?
They didn't believe it. I spent a year and a half. I got 260 pages of data, and no one believed it. It takes so long in the traditional model to get customer insights that even when you have them, I don't know that the field or your sales reps or your teams really believe what you're telling them.
There, a year and a half later, a couple $100,000 poorer, and you cannot even use it anymore because your business changed in a year and a half. In this age, it's just a lot.
I just need to get to it.
And that was really the key insight, right? You don't need more surveys, more data. You just need to find a way to actually get access to the data, to all of those conversations your reps have every day. So really, that was the main trigger why we built Rilla Intelligence, because it gives you that ability to listen to every single conversation that your reps have each day and get the true voice of customer at scale.
I've run most of my career being my own experience and my gut. There's times I'm wrong. What I found with Rilla Intelligence is there really is no denying it. It's like game film. You're hearing the words.
How you think about Rilla Intelligence when you use it?
For me, there's really three ways I look at it. As a business owner, sometimes I'm looking at patterns. I want to see what's happening at 30,000 feet. I want to look at the entire business. But I also still coach one-on-one. So I still sit down one-on-one with my sales team. And then the third thing is I look at my sales managers. How are my sales managers coaching? The question that I ask, looking at the total business, is how does financing or mentioning or offering financing affect close ratio?
I just typed that into Rick. What it is doing right now is what we just talked about, listening to all of those 80, 90, 100 conversations, just in this case. In a couple seconds, you already have your answer that basically confirmed Eric's hunch. If you do mention financing, you have a 32% close rate.
But when we don't mention it or offer it, that close ratio is 16%. I have now learned that the way we offer financing has a big impact on the business. So what I want to do now is look at the individual reps. How are the individual reps mentioning it?
Show me specific excerpts of the reps doing really well at offering financing. And it's going through all of those conversations again, gathering all that data. And then afterwards, it's going to report. And Eric, while Rick is loading, I'd be curious, it's already given us 2 charts and all the data. What do you do when you get that data from Rick?
I don't have to spend hours making PowerPoint. With these slides, there's a download feature that I can actually pull this information directly down. I can put an entire training together in an hour, hour and a half, in which it used to take me several days.
So within just 3 questions, we already went through those buckets from high level all the way down to each individual conversation. How do they mention financing? Now that we've done it, what else do you do?
I'm going to ask across my teams, how are the teams doing at mentioning or offering finance? I want to know if this is an isolated problem. Because if it is, then I don't need to train everyone on this. So I obviously have one team that has decided that financing does not matter. Is it showing up in the individual team's performance numbers?
And we've seen that on a high level, it correlates pretty well. So let's see if on...
Now that I know that we have a south problem, I'm going to go to how well are my managers coaching. So I'm going to ask Rick, Big Rick, Rilla Intelligence, How are my sales managers doing in their ride-alongs?
Until recently, Rick could only analyze the voice of customer, the actual conversations. Now it can go beyond that and look at everything that we have in Rilla. How many ride-alongs do they do? How many comments do they leave? How long do they spend looking at a conversation? And not only the managers, also the reps, so you can figure out how well does each rep look at their own, look at others' conversations to learn from them.
So what I'm going to do with this is we're going to have a March deep dive into just looking at how we offer and talk about financing. And I'm going to specialize on focusing with the South team. I'm going to probably put a challenge out, and I'm going to see if just in the next 3 to 4 weeks, we're going to move the needle with the South team on this one thing. What's great about this is I can come right back to Rilla Intelligence in 3 weeks and see if this trend has changed. I've never had access to this level of data. And one of the things that I've started to look at is how it goes across other levels of our business. We were starting to have a few reoccurring complaints about window treatments, window coverings. I just thought, why don't we just ask Rilla Intelligence? It's not a question about sales process, but it is kind of, because it's part of what we should discuss. What percentage of the time to the least percentage of talking about it. And what was interesting is the name next to that, because the name next to that is my top rep. All of the people on the very bottom were my veterans. But all the people at the very top that were talking about them all the time were my brand new reps. My assumption is that it was being covered, but since I didn't correlate it to performance metrics, I never would have asked this question. I never would have surveyed a customer. I'm not going to spend that money for that. My installation manager's really having a hard time with my customer satisfaction. At the end of the day, what does that do to my brand? What does that do to my referral business? I don't have a metric for covering blinds, but what I found is that that's actually very impactful to my business when you look at what it does for your customer satisfaction. So we've now added those types of questions, looking beyond just the metrics.
And to me, that's always the part that makes it the most interesting, because Rilla is a tool. We give you superpowers, but at the end of the day, you're the sales expert, and you have to figure out what to actually use it for. And with those use cases, they actually help your business a lot. So thank you so much, Eric, for sharing your use cases with all of us. I hope you all learned something, and thank you for being a Rilla customer.
Thank you.